7 months, hundreds of maps, and just one more match to play. Let's take a look at what we can expect from the Overwatch League 2019 Grand Finals. It's been a thrilling season filled with historic upsets, heartbreaking struggles, and joyous victories like no other, but now it all comes down to this last match. The San Francisco Shock emerge as the last survivors of the losers bracket to face off against the Vancouver Titans. The action all starts in Philadelphia on Sunday the 29th, but before then, let's review just how it is we got here.
After being dominant all season long, the Vancouver Titans have now objectively defied the owl caliber memes and landed themselves in the 2019 Grand Finals. After only 3 losses in the entirety of the regular season, Paul, it comes as a surprise to absolutely no one that the Titans have made it to the ultimate match of the season. But their playoff road wasn't flawless. Yeah, they won out through the winner's bracket and looked scary to be sure, but they didn't have a single clean series throughout, dropping at least 2 maps in each match they played. The fact is, we have yet to see real dominance from the Titans in the postseason.
Looking at their competition, the Shock got off to a pretty shaky start though, lafon. Despite being heavy favorites in the playoffs, many analysts having the Shock winning the Grand Finals entirely from the get-go, the Shock dropped their very first series in the postseason against the Atlanta Reign with one of the worst C9s in competitive Overwatch's history and were immediately sent down to the losers bracket.
Being the Shock, however, losing one series just meant that it was time to do their classic tactic of lose one match and come back approximately, 800% stronger.
That sounds right.
The Shock didn't drop a single map while in the losers bracket and are currently sitting on a 16 map win streak, which, by the way, is rivaled only by, the Shock's 28 map win streak from their golden stage in Stage 2 earlier this year. That really answers the questions about the, strength of schedule from back then. Going into the finals, though, Shock look more terrifying than ever and hungry for that crown.
And lafon, I gotta say, we could not have asked for a better storyline for the 2019 Grand Finals. A Stage 1 and 2 Finals rematch. The overall record between these teams, dead even at 2 wins Vancouver, 2 wins San Francisco, and that's just scratching the surface of this matchup.
I mean, even further beyond that, I believe it's 11-11 in terms of map wins on top of that. So the 2 best teams all season now face off as the best 2 teams in the postseason. And there's a lot of things about these teams that we can easily define as the 2 best in Overwatch League right now. The 2 best coaching staffs, the 2 teams with the best mid-match adaptation. The list goes on and on.
All right, but while we know these are definitely the best 2 teams, we gotta try and decide who we think is the singular best team here, lafon, and who we think is gonna be winning our 2019 Grand Finals. Personally, I kind of favor the Shock here, just on the eye test alone. I mean, we mentioned the Shock's dominance in the lower bracket, and I think it has a good chance to carry over. They even 4-0 swept the New York Excelsior, whereas the Titans just 2 days before that got taken to 7 maps against that team in a narrow game.
I don't really think that tells the full picture, though, because every single time the Titans show up to an elimination match, they bring the heat. Not to lean on cliches here, but they definitely have the clutch factor necessary to make this more than competitive.
Let's dive in a little deeper and look at specific matchups, because there are 2 primary anchor points in this meta, at least that we're going to be focusing on, if you're going to be a player that clutches and carries. Your Sigma player and your Doomfist player. So let's discuss how Choi Hyobin versus Janu looks, and who might have the edge when it comes to Haksal versus Sinatra.
All right, I'm going to start off with one of my token, absolutely massive hot takes here, Paul. I fully believe that Haksal has the edge in the Doomfist matchup.
I'm not sure that's that spicy of a take. I mean...
Yeah, that's sarcasm. But anyway, Sinatra is a fantastic Doomfist, and he has the potential to make some really clutch plays, but I think he also sometimes overreaches himself and goes for things that can take him a little too far sometimes. Haksal has the same potential for the highs, but I don't think he ends up as a liability nearly as often.
Okay, I see where you're coming from there, but what about Sigma players? Because pun absolutely intended here. Sigma is more often than not your team's rock in these fights, and I'm gonna be completely honest, lafon, I can't pick between Choi Hyobin and Janu who has the edge here. I would literally have to pick their names out of a hat to determine.
It's pretty close, to be frank with you. Choi struggled on Sigma in that first match when he first picked him up, but the story with the Shock has always been we'll outwork everyone until we're better than them. And they have the talent to pull that off. And it shows in the lower bracket, right? The matches the Shock played in across the board, they had the players consistently who are better in the head-to-head, including Choi. And with Janu, Choi now has an off-tank across from him who can be considered his equal, more so even than Meko, in my opinion. And it comes down to stylistic differences, Paul. That said, in my opinion, consistency is the mark of a great off-tank, and I think that's where Choi has the edge here. Janu was fantastic, make no mistake, but there are moments where his values are very low. Take into account Numbani against NYXL in the winner's final. That is a key example to my mind that Choi simply does not have.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to Sigma players, but let's get into our predictions here, lafon. And before we get to yours and mine, I thought it might be worth noting what the teams seem to have as far as their own predictions. Now, the Titans, as you might expect, have claimed to have relatively modest expectations for the series. Yeah, they think they'll win, obviously, but most of the players have it either as a 4-1 or a 4-2 in favor of Vancouver. Shock, on the other hand, expect the Titans to be no more difficult than the rest of those teams down in the lower bracket, and fully expect to take the grand finals 4-0, not even giving the Titans a map out of pity.
I love the cockiness in the Shock here. I absolutely love to see it, and I cannot wait for the finals themselves.
Now, personally, I give the Titans a bit more credit than the Shock do, to say the least, but I do think it will be the Shock taking this series 4-2. They've just been so dominant as of late.
For me, this is so tough. Going map by map, I have to call who has the edge in each game type and go from there. Control, I do give to the Titans, especially because I think the mode the Shock are the weakest in is Control. Hybrid and Escort, though, are definitely in the Shock's favor, so it comes down to Assault. And with it being the third map, this will decide the series, in my opinion. The Titans aren't bad at Assault, but they're bad at certain maps within Assault. And if Shock win Hybrid, as I expect they will, then the Titans will be able to dodge their bad maps and look to take over the series. That being said, if the Shock can steal a Control map, it's hard to see the championship going north. That said, in the end, I do think this is a 4-3 for the Titans.
Well, to see who wins and how they do it, make sure you guys tune in Sunday to watch the finale of the 2019 season, because when it's Vancouver versus San Francisco, you're guaranteed a great match that you won't want to miss. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, there is a button for that down below, and if not, leave us a comment. We're always willing to improve here, but either way, make sure you subscribe to Esports for more Overwatch content.